Hello and welcome to this week's Loose Linc. Join us for our Valentine special, where the subject is all about love and finding out maybe a bit more about you, all that on today's show. Hello, joining me on the panel this evening is Heidi Matthews and Kat Cornish.
Hello.
As we talk about on the show this week, age gap love, we also discuss, is there ever just one soulmate in your life? And do you believe that you can find love for the first time and have it for the rest of your life? Lots of topic, lots of debate, all that and a lot more on this week's Loose Linc. Good evening, panel. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Kat. Welcome to Loose Linc. We've got two new members on the panel this week, which is quite unusual. So we could have an interesting show. So welcome to the family, Heidi, and welcome to the family, Kat. Thank you for joining us. And they successfully passed their interviews, so they're here today. I want to start off with, we usually have a panel of four. That hasn't changed. Tonight we have a secret admirer for one of our other panelists that aren't on the show this evening. But who is that secret admirer? Secret admirer, will you reveal yourself?
Hello, Michael.
Oh God, Gary Gillespie.
Where's our Mike?
Oh, bless him. He just couldn't make today's show, but he's coming on the next show. So Mike was supposed to be here with us this evening. Mike Curtis, you are Kerry's Valentine only because you bloody agree with everything that Kerry says.
All the time.
So I don't like Valentine's this year, but you do, Mike. So congratulations. Good evening, panel. Welcome to the Valentine special. You are the Valentine special chosen panel. So we've got quite a lot to talk about this evening. My first topic comes from Harry Styles. Now, Harry Styles, as you know, is a well-known celebrity from One Direction, but he seems to end up with older women quite a lot. He doesn't seem to go for his own age or younger. So my first topic is that there's a lot of age gap love around nowadays. If a member of your family would come to you and say that they're in an age gap relationship, would you be happy about it?
I would. It wouldn't bother me in the slightest. It's not my life, is it?
No.
So, as long as they're happy, then that nothing else should come into it. You should be supportive if it's a loving relationship and it's right for them.
Even if it's a massive age gap? So say somebody was like 35 years old and somebody came up to you and said they were dating a 66-year-old. Would you still be happy and comfortable with all of that? Go on, Kat, you tell us what you think.
I would. I grew up with, say, my mum and dad, and there's a 27-year age gap between them. So, sort of, growing up from that, there's, not being, I haven't found any issues with it. And then it's sort of not as extremely, but it's passed down to me because my partner and I, we have 13 years between us. So.
Oh, wow. Wow, we've got somebody on the panel with an age gap. We can even talk about that. What about your views, Heidi? Would you say that you were a single woman now? I know you're not, but say you were a single woman now, would you consider an age gap love?
I am a single woman.
Oh,
now.
you are?
I am.
How bad is that?
I am. But you know what? So with regard to your question, in my family, my mum was 23 when she had me and my dad was 40. So I've also lived a little bit like Kat, I suppose, with her parents having having had that, what seemed to be then was quite a huge age gap. My brother has a girlfriend that's 10 years, well, a fiance actually, that is 10 years his junior. So it hasn't really been a huge thing in my family. It's just been one of those things. I think what we think, I think that the sort of the social stigma about age gap has changed a lot in the last 10 years, especially. And I don't think there's a problem with it as long as those people are actually genuinely happy. But I also know from my own experience that I've always been asked out by younger men, which I think is actually quite flattering. So I find it quite flattering, and I don't really see age as a real problem. I just think it's about a maturity and where someone's at with what they want in life is more important, you know.
Do you think we're scared though as society to do you think society pushes us in the corner in a sort of way? Because I've always gone older. I haven't been successful, but I've always gone older. And do you think society we're kind of worried about saying that we're with somebody maybe 10 to 15 years older of us because of what other people may say? It's not about what we think or anything like that. Do you think that plays a part in it, Kerry?
So now I've got a couple of views on it really, because I think if you look at society nowadays, it's not like it was 50 years ago where you're with someone for your entire life. Society is very, very different. There's a lot of people from broken families, you know, and even though they get on, even though the parents aren't together. So I'm different. I'm at an age where stuff like that, it doesn't affect me. I don't think at the age that I am now, I think people should be with someone of a certain age or similar age to them at all. I mean, when I was like probably 15, 16, I'd think 30 was old, you know, when my mum and dad were in the 30s. So it's very, very different the older you get. Eh?
Excuse me, 30 is not old. Can I?
No, that, when you're growing up as a kid, it was very different years ago. You will think it was. I don't know if kids nowadays think the same, but I don't see it as society now, following society. But that's where I am in my own life.
Well, the thing is, there's an age gap between us, isn't there? And our love just blossoms every day. So
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for this age gap figure you're going to pluck out of thin air and throw in.
Well, we've been together a long time now, Kerry. It's been a long time we've been together, and we've adapted and everything, haven't we, really?
I've had to adapt, yes.
The thing is, I do call myself on screen, of course, Nicholas James, but my real name is Nicholas Gillespie. I just like to put that out there now. Yeah, I see what you mean though. I think age gap isn't a problem nowadays, and I think I've always gone, and I always will go for somebody older than me. I don't really like younger. I'm not really a fan of.
Why is that? So why is that? Is it what? Do you think people are older are more grounded? So
yeah, I do. I feel like it's really hard to say. I feel like older people, and I'm not categorising all younger people into this, but I feel like older people know what they want out of life. This is me saying as a single man, so it hasn't been successful yet. But I think older sort of know what they want. They're not trying to play the field. They're trying to find love. I think there's a gap. There's like a stop point. I think I'm 30 now. I would never go out with somebody that was 77. But I wouldn't rule out somebody in their 40s, maybe in their 50s. I wouldn't rule that out. I think it's about finding the right connection.
I think like Heidi was saying before, it's about maturity, isn't it? You know, you could have someone, you could have someone a bit younger than you who's very mature for the age, but I'm going to stereotype now. Do men really grow up anyway?
No,
throughout their entire life. You know, don't forget, women do mature a lot faster at a younger age anyway. I'm just thinking maybe men are a bit grounded, but they can be any age maturity.
Well, I'm told by many friends that I'm more woman than I am man, so I can't really answer that question. I can't really answer it. Moving on, can you just be with somebody with their looks? So if you saw somebody in the street that was full of muscles and full of wowness that you saw, but actually had no personality, nothing that you can talk to them about, could you be with somebody like that? Go on, Heidi, tell us.
100% no, Nick. Absolutely not. 100% no. I think that there should be an initial attraction, right? There should be that initial, like, well, she's cute, he's cute, she's pretty, he's good looking, whatever. There should be initial chemistry, but and looks will always be what brings you in, what entices you into somebody. Always, that will always be the case. But it can also be what repels you as well. And I think there's a really good thing about saying about a Ming vase, like, you know, beautiful on the outside but nothing on the inside. And I think what we have to be really aware of is what I'm looking for is like the overall package. So it's important for someone to look good in themselves, to take care of themselves, but also to be able to back that up by intelligence and depth and life maturity, you know.
I feel like we're setting up your dating site here.
Oh, I hope so.
That's what we're doing. Kerry, what about the opposite way? Could you be with somebody that's got a great personality, but maybe not that good looking from the outside?
No, I think I can't agree with Heidi in some respects. When you first meet someone, there's got to be some kind of attraction, because that's like before you've maybe even met and spoke. So, you know, at that point, you don't know how intellectual they are or the bit of banter that they can give you back. I think there's got to be a certain level of attraction. Lust, I suppose that is a bit like lust, isn't it, really, for that? But then after that, I think you just grow to love someone as well. I mean, you can love someone straight away, but your love gets more intense.
Well, I totally agree with that, because I'm obviously not going to say his name, but I dated somebody for a while that I wasn't physically attracted to at all, and I thought maybe that'll come later, maybe the physicalness will come later, and it didn't. And to give him his due, he treated me really, really well. Like, we went out for meals and he would hold my hand in the street and all of that, but there was just nothing there when it came to the bedroom. And I felt like running away after 2 weeks, and I rang a friend, and they said to me, well, actually, he's treating you really well here, Nick. Why don't you give it a bit longer? So I did. I just don't think it works. What do you think, Kat?
I think it depends on, you've obviously got to have, you know, that personality click and be attracted to them as well. I think that sometimes you can, you know, obviously there's some situations when you can't sort of start to think they're attractive even if you didn't at the start, but then there are others that if you get on really well with their personality, maybe you thought, you know, they're sort of, yeah, they're okay, but they're not, you know, gorgeous. But if you say start getting on with them really well, say, you know, work colleague, someone, you know, like a friend, you know, somewhere else, and you start getting on with them from, you know, well, you might actually start to think, actually, maybe I misjudged them on first, and maybe they are actually quite good looking.
I completely get that. And I just think there has to be a mix. There has 100%, to be absolutely physical attraction and the personality, because if they don't combine, it doesn't always work. To me, it doesn't always work. Does someone really, if someone's really interested in you and pushes you, I'm going quite personal now, ladies, so get ready, pushes you for sex from the start, so it's first date, sex, all of that, is that a turn on or a turn off?
Turn off. I agree with Heidi.
Go on, Heidi. Have you had? I'm asking really personal, so you can tell me to bog off. Have you had any experience of that? Has that ever happened in your lifetime? Heidi?
Yeah, a couple of times actually. Yeah, just really persistent. You know, they've seen something and they've just been like all in, going for the chase. And there is something, I'm not going to lie, there is something exciting about a guy that just wants to be with you. There is something exciting about the push of that, the magnetism, the rawness, the animal sort of grur of that. It is exciting to have somebody think about you like that. But I think also that it has no legs, because if all they want to do is sleep with you, then, you know, that's fair enough, you know, whatever. We are what we are, but it's not all there is. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it would be initially exciting, and then it would be like, this is too much now, because I actually am a brilliantly independent and intelligent woman, and I would prefer to be seen as that rather than just some kind of trophy, you know.
Well, the thing is, I've had an before I'll go quite personal, I didn't think I was going to.
Go on,
I've had I've got to be careful because I think he still watches the show, but my ex was totally sex mad, 100% sex mad, to the point where I was getting kind of concerned on how much sex he wanted all the time, and to me, I do get that feeling. I do get that, wow, somebody, I don't know how to describe it politely, somebody wants you that bad, that it is exciting. And it is exciting,
but it doesn't mean to say that it's got legs, you know?
No, exactly. And what I learned, because I was in an open relationship, the last relationship, there is no way I could never, ever do that again. I don't know why I agreed to it in the first place. But I think, to me, I'm going to sound really boring, but I sort of want it to die down a bit after a while. I sort of just, because to me, I'm going to put a lot of men off that watch this show if they are interested. But I never ever, I can't say never ever, but I rarely give it within the first couple of weeks, because I just think, well, if you're that interested, you're waiting.
Then you're worth waiting for.
Earn
the prize, boyfriend.
Yeah.
Come on, earn it. You know, earn it.
What do you think, Kat? Is it a turn on for you or a turn off?
The general pushiness, I'd say, is personally a turn off. But on the concept of, say, like the first date, I think it depends on how long you've known the person first. So, you know, you're saying about, say, waiting. If you've known them for, say, sort of like, 3 months first, and then they, you've chatted, you've gone out with, say, like groups of people as friends, then it's sort of, well, they might have, you sort of have both waited, just not in a sort of dating aspect of waiting. So there's the sort of that concept as well, so it's sort of like, you've been out together, you've just had other people around you. So it's like, it wouldn't be technically classed as a specific date, because it's not just one-on-one, but, and you've got to know each other before you've actually done that one-on-one together. So society would class the one-on-one thing as the first date, when technically, and say, oh, you had sex on the first date, but actually, you've known each other, you've chatted, you've got like a good history together, for say a couple of months beforehand.
Completely. So how the whole concept is it as an open question, Kerry, to the world, really? Do you think it's important to have sex on a first date, or do you think it's important to wait?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't think it's important to do it on the first date, no.
No.
Why would it be?
Well, to some people it is, isn't it? There is a saying that goes around that try before you buy. There's that saying that goes around quite a lot, try before you buy. But if somebody
I thought it was just to do with buying a car.
But if somebody pushed you and really pushed you, would that be a turn off for you?
If somebody really pushed me, I would probably knock them out. To be honest, because I think, again, I'm going to agree with Heidi when Heidi's saying about being independent. you know, if anybody generically now saying it, if somebody does that on a first date, that is through their choice. Yeah. And it's consensual, and it's being an adult, isn't it? At the end of the day, generically speaking. But I think for me personally, when you're saying if someone pushes you, I would knock them out. Well, I wouldn't knock them out, obviously, I just like saying that. But I'd probably be like, right, do you know what? I'm going to go. You pick up the bill for this, and I'm going home.
Heidi said you would. She didn't even know you. She knows what you would do, Karen.
Gotta be careful. I've got to be polite, Heidi. Can't show me your feisty side.
Not at all.
Are you? This is a really important question for me. Are you weary of a new partner that enters a close friend or family member's life? Are you quite that protective friend? Are you that person that likes to know detail about what's going on? So, because they always say, don't they, that a toxic relationship, it's never really seen within the relationship, it's more seen outside. So are you one of those friends that will push for those awkward questions to be asked?
I think it depends on the type of friend it is. So what relationship you have with that friend. I think if they're quite a close friend, or you had, say, like, you know, some sort of connection with them, then yes, you would be, you know, would want to say protect them.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you, actually, Kat. And I think also it's really important to know that girls talk. I'm sure I don't think guys do as much, but I do think that girls do talk about every single stage of meeting a person all the time. So you can always gauge, where they're at. I think it's hard to be protective, because I think girls will always be generally more forthcoming with the like the details. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing is, if somebody's painting, I'm just trying to take my experience of my last relationship. So if anybody asked out there, how was I and how things were and stuff like that, I think I was protecting him more than I was protecting myself. So I would say, oh yeah, I'm fine, absolutely fine, going really, really well, fantastic, all of that. If somebody's too enthusiastic about a relationship, would that make you question what's going on? Would you delve a little bit deeper? Go on, Kerry, tell us what you think. I can see the toggles turning.
If somebody was really, see, to be fair, I haven't experienced witnessing something with friends and their partners for me to have a concern. Mine tend to be like, as long as my friends know that actually I'm there, if they do want to speak about anything, then I'll just try and give as sound advice as I can. I'll never tell someone to leave that person, don't be with that person. I'm more along the lines of if I can offer any advice, suitable advice, best advice, to kind of maybe make them see things a different way than being so tunnel vision and, you know, focusing on that. Because you're quite right, you could have a close friend who's not in a very good relationship, and like you've just said, you could protect them and not yourself. You know, it's good that if you have got a close friend, they will look out and protect you. But
well, the other thing is, in it, I think it's selfish of me, really, and I will admit this. I'm a born worrier, and I've always been a worrier. I come across so confident on here, but actually I worry quite a lot about things. So when I'm close to somebody and they suddenly enter a relationship, I'm quite worried and concerned that I'm going to be left on the side. And that plays on my mind a lot, that we've got this beautiful friendship with somebody new enters their life. And obviously, when somebody love-wise enters their life, it becomes their world. It becomes their world for quite a while.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like close to somebody, and when somebody special enters their life, that you're worried that you're going to lose that connection? That you
100% no, 100% no, Nick. I think that's an insecurity. Yeah. And that sounds mean. I didn't mean that directly as you.
No, definitely. That is completely me.
I think you know where you are at in a relationship with a friend or anybody at any time. Yeah. You know what that friendship is worth, what it means to you, and also what you're prepared to do for it. Some people are around for a reason, and some people are around for a season, and we have to really know where we're at with that person and how much that person actually means to us. And I think if you're really invested in that person, you've known them, in depth for some time, which can be like a minute or 1 year or 100 years. Time doesn't define it. The connection is what's more important. But I think what you're striving at here is the protectiveness, because you value that person so much. You love that person so much that you just absolutely want the best for them, and nothing but the best for them will do. And you want them to have that. And if you see that they're not having that in whatever position you might view that in, then you would feel concerned. And I also think there's a lot of trust involved there. I think if the person is genuinely happy and they're telling you good things about their partner, then you have to go with it. And it's okay to joke or sort of pick at, other things that are, is she or he, is she romantic? What does she call you? Does he or she leave notes? Is there depth to it? Is there a love there? Is there a consciousness to the whole thing? Then brilliant. But if there isn't, then I totally see why you doubt it, Nick. I totally get that.
Just to let everybody know out there, I am available. So just contact me in any sort of way, and I'll be happy to talk. But Kat, let's change it a little bit then. If a friend said to you that something was going on, something was not right within their relationship, and they constantly told you that things were going wrong, would you interfere?
I think it depends, say, what it was that was going wrong. I think quite often, I can't really comment on the men's side of things, but from sort of like a female perspective, my current partner knows I go round to my mum's house and moan to high heaven about him. And my mum knows that it's, sometimes you have to moan about the person you're with, because else you'll shout at them and you won't end up being together. You need some sort of, outlet, particularly in the current situation when you're with your partner. If you live with them 24/7, and my partner and I at the moment work together, so we literally are together 20, basically 24/7, which is, so he knows, and my mum knows that when I am moaning about him, that it's because you need to get things off your chest so that you actually can sustain a healthy relationship. And it's, and just floating it past that other person. But if they were, if it was someone who was saying, oh, my partner hits me, or they, always talk down to me and that sort of thing, if you're hearing that again and again and again, like it's, verging on the type, some sort of abuse, then that's the sort of thing to step into, potentially to step into, not just, oh, my partner's being annoying, he didn't do the dishes.
What about you, Keza? If a friend came up to you and said, my relationship is badly going wrong, I've been cheated on, I've been this, I've been that, and my independence is completely on the ground, I've lost confidence, I can't speak to them, would you interfere?
I wouldn't speak to the other party involved. I'd obviously speak to my friend. And like I said before, is offering advice. If it is something like Kat's just been saying, where it is, is it just a blip? Is it something? Are they not in love with? Is your friend not in love with the partner? Is probably speaking about that. I wouldn't necessarily intervene with something like that. Again, as I say, it's just a case of listen. If it is just to get stuff off your chest and to speak about stuff, and maybe just to have someone else kind of, because don't forget, we can get so engrossed in our thoughts, and when we overthink, we can just come to such a negative, on something quite minuscule and small, and actually that a lot of people are just like over the head. I think it is just having someone to speak to say, oh, am I being silly thinking this? I've been stewing it over, and I'm now at this huge negativity point and I can't get out of my head and you're stressing out and then you're insecure and stuff like that. I think it's just good to talk, or to at least have someone to talk to get you out of that, because generally that's what it is. That's what it is, isn't it?
Definitely, 100%. Thank you for sharing that. Would you? Right, this is another personal question, ladies. It's quite personal this week. I'm quite surprised you're on, Kerry. I'm quite surprised you're on, Kerry, and you've agreed.
Yeah, I know. I hate doing the Valentine special. I'm just answering generically.
Would you stay the night on a first date? Let's go over to you, Heidi. Would you stay the night on a first date?
Do you know what? I would, and I have done, and I haven't, and I haven't done. And I think it's all about what is happening in the moment at that time, with the connection, with the feeling that you have, and with what also you're receiving from the other person. And yeah, I don't see any problem at all in having, a sleepover. Let's put it that way. On the first day, I don't see the problems. I've got friends
and pajamas and movies.
Well,
on the first day.
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, marshmallows. Pillows,
chocolate spread, but
wine.
we won't talk about where that goes. We won't discuss where the chocolate spread goes.
I think what I'm trying to say is, does it really matter? Like, I've got friends that have on the first night, and literally have been inseparable and married and have been together for 25 years. Wow. And it hasn't been an issue. And I think if the connection is there, then it will grow. And also, if you do have a sleepover on the first night and it doesn't go anywhere, then that is also what it is. I think
as red as my share.
I think we really, really, really need to take responsibility for what we expect and how we feel about first dates and about sex and about chemistry. And it's okay. It's okay to have that initial contact on the first night if you genuinely just feel the spark, and it is what it is. If it doesn't come to anything, then so what? You've had fun, it's been consensual, and that's the most important part, I think, about the whole thing, is it's a consensual thing. But you know what, if you do and you still want to see someone again and again and again, and you get married or you don't get married, or it lasts for 100 years or 10 weeks, it doesn't really matter. It's a consensual feeling at the time, and I would never judge anybody for doing it on the first night. But I would also massively respect anyone that just didn't do it on the first night. So there's this really 50-50 balance. To me, it swings both ways,
Quite literally. Kerry, would you dip your toe in on the first night?
Say again?
Would you dip your toe in on the first night?
Dip your toe in?
Kerry's a 43-year-old virgin. Do you not know?
Immaculate conception of kids as well. It's amazing.
Exactly. Kat, have you ever had? Go on, Kerry. Go on, tell us.
I think what I think of, and again, sorry, Hardy, I'm going to agree with you. I love the way you put that there. I really did. I like the way you put it. You put it quite clearly. And I think, again, it's if you meet someone and that clicks there and you both want to, then there's not a problem in doing that. I always think back though, obviously, thanks for giving me age away there, but good 20 years ago, it would be, I don't know if either Hardy or Kat kind of remember, because obviously I'm from Liverpool, but it was, if you were a girl that done that, you were classed as something. And if you were a lad that done it, it was like a notch on your bedpost. Well done, mate, here you go. And I think that stereotypical view on if people do it or not on a first date, it is changing. It's very different from 20 years ago.
100%.
I think the stigma.
Who cares about the stigma? It's not the stigma. Who cares?
Oh, we're having technical difficulties with Carrie. Are you back?
I'm here.
We lost you then, Carrie. You sort of just went across the screen. That's all
right.
Kat, what do you think? Would you go for it on the first date?
Well, say if we're getting into the personal stuff, my current partner and I, we were living together for a month. Then we had a sleepover. Say he was a lodger in my house, so he moved in.
Right.
Then we had a sleepover, and then we had a first date in about 2 weeks down the line.
Oh, that's sweet though. That's
so
sweet.
Technically, we had our sleepover a couple of weeks before we had the first date.
Carrie, sorry, not Carrie, Heidi, I love the way you've just said there. Carrie, I don't know if you missed it or not, but Heidi just said, who cares about the stigma?
Exactly. I've always been that sort of person that I just don't care about what anybody thinks. And maybe I've been blessed, I was born like it, I'm just annoyingly like that. I just think that if you feel it, you feel it. And if you don't, it doesn't show any less disrespect or any less morality because you have done something. Any idiot can have sex, right? But like knowing someone and caring about getting to know somebody and about their intelligence is really what makes it for me. Any idiot can have sex, but it's what comes outside of that is the real jewel,
And sex changes, doesn't it? When you really know somebody, sex changes. It's not just about that lustful feeling anymore.
Absolutely.
It's about knowing what that person likes, how they like it, and it just changes the whole morale, and it turns from just sex to making love. Or 100%. Am I just old-fashioned?
No, you're not old-fashioned at all. There is nothing to be ashamed about being old. This word old-fashioned, whatever that is, it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what anybody feels. It's about, are their needs being met in a kind and caring and consensual way that is open to growth and beauty and acceptance. And it doesn't matter what you do, in those four walls, people get up to all sorts. We know that, right? But it's all about consensuality and about respect and learning. And that can be on a first date, it can be on a 14th date, it can happen 20 years into a marriage. It doesn't really matter when it happens, but it's all about acceptance of that person. And it is a step to really knowing what really is the needs and the wants of that person and matching that, because they do, if you really want to get into a relationship, you need to want to match someone's needs, and that's really important.
Well, I sort of agree with that, Heidi, but I'm not sure I could wait 20 years. I'm 30 now, so that would lead me to 50. But I sort of agree with that. I get what you're saying. Kat,
I think what I meant was like for example, 20 years into a marriage, like some people get married quickly for whatever reason, and then they don't necessarily express themselves in a way that they feel comfortable or available to or comfortable in or allowed to, and it may come later on in that relationship. But it will always, whatever your comfort zone is, I guarantee it will always come within a relationship. And it's a great position when you're in that feeling where you're both being met. And it can take like one night, 10 weeks, 20 years. It can take whatever time it takes. But when you know, and it's really important to be able to accept that from somebody else, and also be able to match them in that and give it back,
Exactly. Good point there. That is a really good point. Kat, the question that I've got forward to you now is, do you think you can find love later on in life, or do you think there's a shelf life to love?
I don't think so. I think there's been, say plenty of examples sort of, in the media about people falling in love later on, and, say not just of celebrities, but, the sort of magazines and things that do stories of real life people about, people who are older finding love. And I think that, and also those who are, say, maybe fell in love when they were younger and then got split up and then have come back together. I think there's, I don't think there's a shelf life. I think you could, you can find love later on. I think, quite a few people, find it when they're younger because, and then they stay with that person. But
is that love or is it settling?
But then there's also quite a few people who, like, Heidi just pointed out, who then, realise that they are settled with someone, split up with them, and then go on to find someone else. It doesn't have to be sort of, it could be that their first person was just someone they settled with, and then they, actually found someone they, even if they're in that relationship with the person they've settled with, and then they find someone then, as long as they are upfront with the person they are with, then, finding love later on, it can happen.
Do you think as you get older, Kerry, do you think as people get older, I'm not just directing this because you're the oldest one.
You are.
But
Yes,
as you get older, do you think if you find love later on in life, love changes within your mind?
Changes within, I wouldn't say it changes within your mind at all. I think on a personal level, for me, I think finding someone, and I always, in my mind, this is how I like to see it with when you're meeting someone or dating someone, is you're on the same page as them, which is amazing. Needle in a haystack, that is, when you're on the same page as someone. You're in the same chapter as someone, that's good. It can catch up, it can work out. You're in the same book, might just mean that it takes longer again before you gel together, or you're with someone and you're in a completely different book. One's in sci-fi, one's in romance. No hope, it's not going anywhere. But
I'm in 50 Shades.
You're such a filth, you really are. I know this is a Valentine's special, but is there any need? Is that on Netflix, by the way?
I don't know.
Not yet.
But I love it. I love it.
I think that's it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Love is love. It doesn't change. I don't feel love is something that changes. I think it's meeting that someone that's just at that same time for you.
Definitely. The next question that intrigues me, I'm going to change the question a little bit, so get ready, ladies, is that we always say that you can fancy the same sex. So it doesn't mean that you would do anything with the same sex, but you could fancy the same sex. So with that in mind, if you could date a male and a female crush as a celebrity, who would it be? Let's go to you first, Heidi.
Oh, 100% Angelina Jolie. She is just phenomenal. Oh my God, she's just gorgeous. She's a total sex on legs. And I just think that she has a real grace about her and a very private way. I think she's massively misunderstood, and so be it. Who cares? I don't know her, of course, but that's just the perception that I have of her. She's strong, she's brilliant, she's maternal, she's giving, she's communicating. I think she's great. But I might meet her in real life and just think, wow, you're awful. But I don't know that. But you're just asking me a question about celebrities, so I don't know, because we don't really know them. We don't really know them, do we?
What about the male side, though, Heidi? Who would you go?
Oh, Tom Hardy. 100% Tom Hardy.
Kat, let's go to you. Female celebrity.
I knew you were going to ask me female first. I'm going to cheat a little on this one.
Go on then. Go.
I'm going to go with a female impersonator.
Oh, that's a good one. Go on. Who's that then?
Bianca Del Rio, who's was on season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Brilliant. She's amazing.
That's a good one. That's a good one. What about the male side then? Who would you go male celebrity with?
Male side is very much dependent on, say, like what's happening at the time. And my partner and I have just finished watching Not Going Out. So at the moment, it's probably Lee Mack from Not Going Out, mainly because he reminds me of my current partner at the moment.
Oh, I'm not sure I agree with you there. Let's slowly move on.
The witty comments and stuff, it is exactly like my partner who I'm dating at the moment. They are on the same level.
Kerry Gillespie, who's your female icon?
I have to say I like, is it Charlize Theron?
Oh, yeah.
Charlize Theron.
Just beautiful. What a beautiful woman. Though if I see a good looking girl anyway, I'll always say, she's pretty or anything like that. I've got no issue with anything like that. Yeah. Just because you can look at a female can look at another female and think you are actually
always
really good. Yeah, you look really good. You look amazing. I have no issue in that, and I like to see, it's really corny as it is, I'll look at someone, I like to see the good in them, and things like that. I like that. But I would say her. She's
what
beautiful.
about male wise? Who would you go male wise?
I don't know. I don't know, but do you know who I had? Nobody knows this. I actually go out and say it. But do you know who I had a celebrity crush on years ago?
Who?
Jack Black.
Yes, I see that. I did.
Do you see it?
So funny.
You see, yeah. I had a massive celebrity crush with Jack Black, and I think it is probably his humour that it was like, you'd watch him in films and it's just like you're just like hilariously funny, and I don't know what it was. Don't know.
No,
bit of a celebrity crush. I can't think of anybody at recent. Brad Pitt. There you go, Brad Pitt.
I've got a story about him actually. Before I tell you mine, I was round at a friend's house years ago, and we were talking about body image and all of that. And he said something. I can't remember what he said, but I said, well, I'm Brad Pitt under here. I just put a bodysuit on in the day to make me look at that little bit differently. We went, Brad Pitt, more like Hairy Pitt, Nick. And that's what he said. I'll never forget that. Well, I've got a couple of males, so I will explain them. My males. I can't just pick one.
You can't do a couple. You said one.
Well, the thing is,
one, Nick. Come on.
We have to choose a woman.
Okay. So if I had to go female, so if anybody has got contact with this person on this group or watching the show, please surprise me on the show. Contact Suzanne Paul and make sure that you pass on her details so she can surprisingly come on the show, and I'll be absolutely amazed. But mine's a little bit gay. My female who I look up to, and I follow her as a singer, and I've been to see her live and stuff like that, and she's been on the show that made this show as a panelist, is Jane McDonald.
No
Jane McDonald. I would marry her tomorrow. I would marry her tomorrow.
She's lovely. She's amazing.
So if anybody's got contact, please push her in our direction. That'll be over the moon. The other one that everybody goes, ooh, when I say this, I think, Kerry, you already know it. I think I've told you it before. My male celebrity crush is Jack Wood. And Jack Wood is Max Branning on EastEnders.
Wow, I get that.
There's just something about him that I just... And when I usually tell people that, they're like, really? Really, Jack Wood? You really have it? And I'm like, yes. Anywhere, anytime, on the set, anywhere. I just...
Why, Nick? I want to know why.
I don't know. I think it's that bad boy look. He's got a bit of a bad boy. And he looks great in a suit pair of trousers.
Fair dues. 100%.
I mean, suit pair of trousers. And I've got a thing for people in suits. I don't know what it is about it. I can't watch that.
I think the suit thing is lovely. I think it's very important if you're trying to impress or also to feel good about yourself. You should always dress up to however you feel good. Yeah. And I think it's really, really, really important that can mean any kind of dressing up. It can be like, fancy, like wings, suits, even trainers, whatever it is. But I think
we've done it, haven't we? We've done it. We've done it all.
I was going to say, sorry, Heidi.
No, it's okay. I was going to say, when someone takes care of themselves and really presents the best version of themselves, and you know that they feel good, like really, like really good in that moment, it's really nice to see that. Yeah. And people can present themselves in so many ways, but to me, I'll always notice a suit. I will always notice a suit. It's just the way I'm programmed, I think.
I can't watch
the whole James Bondy thing, you know. I just get a little bit excited about suit.
I can't watch Peaky Blinders.
Oh my, so many suits.
I can't do it.
I was going to say, to be fair, if you want a man in a suit, go to Liverpool, because they do say all the ones going to court wear suits.
Right, well, we're off. As soon as we're out of lockdown, we're going.
Did you not hear what I said? Did you not hear what I said?
I don't care.
All the ones that are due up in court wear suits in Liverpool is what I'm saying. If you want a man in a suit.
Liverpool, love the way you say that. Do you believe, Kat, in Valentine's Day?
To a sort of extent. My partner and I don't necessarily go in for the commercialism of it. We did on the our first Valentine's Day, you know, we bought each other a card. But since then we've actually we've got the same cards that we got in the first year, and this is our fourth year, and we write different messages in. So it's, you know, it's Valentine's Day, you know, but it's for us. It's not for, say, like, you know, spending money on buying new things. We've got each other, say, like, you know, sort of novelty gifts, you know. He got me something that he got someone to make. I got him something that a local business made for him. So it was sort of, you know, I believe in Valentine's Day to the extent of, you know, showing your love, not necessarily, you know, going out and buying everything under the sun from a shop, because the shops are like, oh, great big teddies and cards.
But Carrie, if you were married to somebody for 10 years and they didn't get you a card on Valentine's Day, would you be upset?
I'd probably be angry, not upset. I'd probably make them go out and get one. Go to the garage and get one. I want a card. I like cards. Cards are just a big thing anyway. They're quite a nice gesture, whether it's Valentine's Day, birthday, whatever. Cards are a nice gesture.
So are you a big believer in Valentine's Day?
I think I'll celebrate it. Yeah, I do. I think that's just the in thing, isn't it? But you don't go OTT like Kat was saying and buy the entire shops nowadays, ram everything down your throat, whatever day it is. Pancake day, look at these frying pans, that you know what I mean? They're all different things. So yeah, I much prefer a card. Though I did actually read up about Valentine's Day, and it was quite gruesome how it come about. It was in the Roman period. A gentleman that was obviously hung or whatever they done years ago because of a crime, and his surname was Valentine. And then I think a few years after that, another gentleman was killed again, and his surname was Valentine, and it stems from like thousands of years ago. Yeah, it was really strange reading it. So yeah, it was a bit weird that they celebrate St. Valentine's Day due to that. And it initially stemmed from just card sending, homemade card sending. And then as Kat was saying, then look at it commercially now, it's just teddies and everything, isn't it? Blues teddies.
Yeah. There's the woman who's sat next to a teddy bear right now. Heidi, do you enjoy dating?
No, not at all. No, I don't. And I kind of want to. And I kind of always have this like amazing hopefulness. But yeah, I don't know what it is. By the way, I don't believe in Valentine's Day.
You don't?
I get it. It has kind of become some kind of, over this, become some kind of like marketing tool. I get that. And that's okay. If you choose to buy into it, then buy into it and just enjoy. If you don't, then don't. But just be happy with your choice of that, you know? It's okay. It's okay to be single on Valentine's Day and not get a message. It's okay to be with someone that adores you and to get lots of lovely wonderfulness. But isn't knowing your love a 365, day duty? Shouldn't you show someone that you love somebody every day?
Yeah.
It hasn't
But
got
do you
to
think
be.
do you think that I'm going to sound really critical here? And it's
No,
going to
not
be
at
a
all.
question
Go
I'll
for it.
put down, but do you think, like, when I think back to my last relationship, every night and every time we left each other and every time we met each other and all this, that and the other, those words were used. And that really, really hurt me, because I think that was the biggest hurt I had to get over. Because the thing is, to me, I was my younger self. I would say to everybody, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you," and then I really thought about it and thought,
No, you didn't, though, did you?
"No, I
didn't.
I don't love you.
You didn't love someone. How can you know that? How can you only love someone when you have been there at the good times and when you've been there at the shitty times? It is true, Nick. You have to have been there through the light and the dark. You really have to know someone. You really have to appreciate that about someone to be able to say, I can love you no matter what. And I think that I love you gets bandied around as a common day thing. Like, hey, what's up? Or how you doing? Or, how are you? It gets bandied around. And when I say I love you, I bloody well mean it.
Well, that's what I say, because it is weird. Because the thing is, I would never say to anybody now, because I know how much it hurts. I would never tell anybody that I love them if I didn't love them, because I think friendship, relationship, anything. Yeah. I think it hurts. But what I really struggled to understand is how he turned off the love like that and was like, "No, I don't love you no more. I'm going."
But he didn't know, Nick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because he never felt it in the first place.
And it's weird, because I thought to myself, I'm never going to get rid of this feeling. But it's been 2 years now, over 2 years.
Okay.
And I think I just hit this stage in my life where I was like, actually, I don't know more. I don't see you anymore. I don't talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't anymore.
I think there's a very, very, very fine line between obsession and a neediness and love. And I think we can get very confused in what that is. And that is okay. And it's very normal. And don't beat yourself up. And that is very human. It's okay to be around a person all the time and that person be around you all the time. And there to be this like constant connection. But that is what it is. It's a connection. Is it love? That's up to you to decide. If you choose to love that person, but they don't love you back, then that is okay too. We've
got Heidi Cupid on the show tonight.
I know. That is how I believe it to be true. Yeah. You know when someone loves you, because when you are in, when you're in the shit, you are up shit creek without a paddle, and you have to ring someone and they answer the phone no matter what time or where they are or where they're at with their life. They will answer the phone. That is love. And quite often we mistake neediness and codependency and what we actually want, what we actually project onto somebody else, we think is love, but it's not. It's just a wanting to be wanted. That's what it is. So, what we should say is, I really want you to want me like I want you.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will someday transpire into, I love you because you love me. And that is a real love. Love knows no boundaries. Just love is just pure and love and flows and is brilliant. And we can hook onto love at any point in our life with pets, with friends, with a TV show, with a clothing brand, with a certain food. We can hook onto love, and that is brilliant. And we know where we're at with it. Because it feels easy.
Heidi, do you love Loose Linc?
To love.
Heidi, do you love Loose Linc?
I love it. Of course I love it. I love all of you guys. You're amazing.
My final question for this evening, guys, because we've talked loads. I think some of the questions were going to be really short, but actually,
No, it's been brilliant.
No, it's been quite a debate tonight. So my final question, I had loads more questions, but we can't do them. Obviously, we'll be here till midnight. So my final question is: what advice would you give? So I'm going to come round you all. What advice would you give your younger self about when talking about relationships and love, being in the stage that you are now? Kat, let's go to you first. What would you tell your younger self if they were standing in front of you now to prepare them for love and relationships?
I think I'd say that while it isn't, say, technically, easy, and as everyone knows, men are annoying. And if you're a woman or a man and choose to love a man, you're going to be in for some hardships. There are some days when I have actively wished that I could love women, but unfortunately that's not the way my brain works. But it shouldn't be hard as well. Being with someone shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be that you're having to put in all the effort. And even if, say, if your partner isn't pulling the weight, when you talk to them, they should then be, they should be accepting of that and try harder. They might not have realised. So, if you are going through a patch when, say, like, they're not doing, you're not happy with them, you should at least be able to have that sort of conversation with them to make it easier. Even if it, say it's never going to be, sort of love is never going to be all sort of, sunshine and roses every single day, 365 days a year. But it shouldn't be hard.
No. What about you, Heidi? What advice would you give your younger self?
It's kind of hard to know that one, because, to be honest, I've never looked for it. But if I had to say something, I would say love yourself first, because unless you love what you love, how can you expect somebody else to love that too?
Yeah.
So
don't look for it.
Off the telly.
Don't look for it. And it's okay if you love someone and you are not loved back. That is okay too. Don't regret that love, because you have love for a reason. And if your love is matched, you are a very lucky person in life. So look for the match, because you deserve it.
What about you, Keza?
I don't know what I'd tell myself.
I can give your answer. I'm bloody amazing than anybody that asks me. It's very, very lucky.
I suppose more so is the fact that, if you're not happy, don't stay in it, for starters. And I suppose in a roundabout way, what Heidi said about, you love yourself. You can be in a relationship and it doesn't work out, and one person loves the other and the other doesn't actually love, and they just say it and actually don't mean it and don't stick with you through thick or thin. And I think it is about, coming out of a relationship, you've got to be independent, you've got to be strong, and you do have to love yourself without doubt.
And Karen, I think I know I take the mick out of you a lot, and I know I really do. That actually, I'd like to share it with the nation. Really, I think I've completely changed with Kerry Gillespie in my life. She's really made me quite independent and quite stand for what
argumentative.
And stand up for me. And I think I've got a lot to thank you for that. So I really think it's true about loving you.
Good for you. You deserve it. You deserve all of it.
I think that's it. And when we have our conversations before, me and you at very different times in our life, and I think that's why I go back to before when I said when you can be a friend or someone that's there to speak to and give advice and that, because because we're at different parts in our life, you know, there's more life experience. I'm not old, but more life experience, more loads of different experiences.
More
through
love
life.
experience.
Always,
more love experience, maybe, you know.
More love experience. I think that's it, and it is 100%. If I could tell my younger self something, it is. You know, I think we all go through a really insecure period in our lives. At the end of the day, when we're younger, I'm sure there is even a small part of our lives where we are a bit insecure, and we're vulnerable, especially when it comes to relationships or a breakdown of a relationship as well. And it's just important, isn't it, to come out at the top of that. You do nothing wrong. You do nothing wrong when you're in a relationship and it doesn't work out. You've done nothing wrong to that.
Absolutely. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. And if no one can handle that, they're not prepared to deal with it, they can't match that, then so what? Like, move on and find someone that can.
Love is love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the end of this week's Loose Links. Thank you for your questions and your answers. There will be polls up this week about maybe your secret admirer. Tell us who's been madly in love with you for years. If you've had a marriage of 10 years or if you're on the dating game all over again. Tell us your experience, because remember, you're the fifth panel member. Get in touch with us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, or email us at looselinks@gmail.com. Make sure you get your say as well as ours. So joining me on the panel this evening, Nicholas James, was
Heidi Matthews.
Kerry.
Right, let's do that one more time. So we'll start with you, Karen. So joining me on the panel this evening, Nicholas James, was
Kerry.
Go on, Kat.
Cat Corner.
Heidi Matthews.
Join us next week for a lot more of interesting talk and debate. All that and a lot more on next week's show. Don't miss out. See you soon. Bye-bye.